definitely a lot of beautiful art at
Yeah.
cemeteries, and
Yeah.
and someone may say, well, that's kind of morbid or gothic, but it doesn't mean it's not beautiful nonetheless, especially some of them angel statues and
Yeah.
Oh
and what.
yeah.
There's actually one that I like, and this is near First Ward Schoolhouse in one of those big cemeteries in the Wisconsin Rapids. And it was this rich, well-to-do family in the area, and the statue was of a woman in a flowing gown, and she was holding some kind of a torch with like the symbol for the eternal flame, and it had a pretty inscription in it, and it was absolutely beautiful. It looked she was standing on top of a cliff, and it was just the cliff was done in marble. It was just I was at a loss for words when I seen it. I couldn't get over how amazing it looked.
Yeah,
Very
and
nice.
someone put time and
Yeah.
energy into that to make that, and then they pass away and their story's lost too. Uh, so, as a paranormal historian, well, let's make this a two-part question. First part is, uh, what's the most haunted cemetery do you think that you've been to? And I guess the second part would be, what do you think the most haunted cemetery in the country maybe?
Phew, that's tough. Most haunted cemetery I've been to. Ah, I don't know. That's tough. Because there's some
And
interesting ones that I've been to. Like I'll say this: the one that I've probably had some of the more interesting interactions at. It's a little tiny cemetery. It's called Black Bear. It's out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. Um, and it's right across from the abandoned church that we featured on the My Ghost Story episode, Church of Darkness. And that cemetery, I got all kinds of EVPs at, but they were intelligent. And one, that just fascinated me, earlier on when I was investigating, was I was just making an observation about the headstones, about how there was basically a family headstone, and then at the other end of the grave site there was one that was from the military. And as I'm saying these out loud to one of the other investigators, I got an EVP there that said correct, and it was just something affirming my observations. Just absolutely fascinated me. And then I got another one there. I was alone in the cemetery. The others had already gone off to the car. I wasn't saying anything, but all of a sudden there's this voice that comes across that says, "My teeth are warm," which was really bizarre. So yeah, there's some interesting things that happen at cemeteries.
oh, for sure. And of course the riddle being like what you touched on before. Why would people hang out where their final resting place, even especially if they've never even been there before in life or whatever? And we don't always have the answers for all that stuff, but there's no doubt that cemeteries do have paranormal activity. There's
Yeah,
just no doubt.
I think sometimes people, the spirits, pick up on the fact that, well, somebody's visiting my grave. I'm going to go down and check it out, or go over, or what, wherever they're coming from. Um, and I mean, maybe it's a little, I don't know, psychic connection or whatever that they have back to um, their gravesite. But there was another time, it was at Lima Cemetery, another real small one that was out there, and there was a medium that was with us at the time, and she was kind of sitting back by the car, and I was up near the one fence, kind of looking in, and she says, "Hey, Mike, there's a spirit standing in front of you right now." And I couldn't see it, but I just held my hand out and just said, "Hello, I'm Michael," and got this crystal clear EVP that said Edward. So it was like, there's
Nice.
this a spirit introducing himself to me, which was fantastic.
Plus, you have a little extra validation
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and Oh, what time? Might as well.
All right. Why don't we take our next commercial break? You are listening to Paraversal Universe, and we will be right back with our guest after these commercials.
Support for this NPR podcast and the following message come from Mercedes-Benz, featuring the new A-Class with MBUX, Mercedes-Benz user experience that provides 4 intelligent ways to communicate with your vehicle. A touchscreen, a separate touchpad, a steering wheel control panel, and voice control with natural language recognition, which allows the A-Class to anticipate your needs. The Mercedes-Benz A-Class with MBUX. Learn more at MBUSA.com.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. President Trump says he has no idea when the final report from special counsel Robert Mueller will be released to the Attorney General. Speaking to reporters before leaving for a weekend visit to his home in Florida, Trump once again insisted that there is no collusion between his campaign and Russia.
Well, we're going to see what happens. It's going to be very interesting, but we'll see what happens. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction. Everybody knows it. It's all a big hoax. I call it the witch hunt. It's all a big hoax. So we'll see what happens. I know that the Attorney General, highly respected, ultimately will make a decision.
It's not clear when Mueller's report will be sent to the AG. Iran, Syria, Russia, and Turkey are condemning President Trump's comments supporting Israeli sovereignty over the occupied Golan Heights. NPR's Peter Kenyon reports Trump's comments are seen as a dramatic shift in long-standing U.S. policy.
Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan told a meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation that the American announcement about Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights has brought the region to the edge of a new crisis. Iran's foreign ministry called such recognition illegal and unacceptable, according to Iranian state TV. Israeli forces captured the Golan Heights during the 1967 war. Trump's abrupt comments are seen as a political boost for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a month ahead of elections there. Syria and its ally Russia also criticized Trump's move, with a Syrian official saying it showed America's, quote, blind bias toward Israel. Peter Kenyon, NPR News, Istanbul.
Indonesia's Garuda Airlines is canceling a big order for Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft. NPR's Daniela Cheslow has more.
A spokesman for Garuda Airlines says the company sent a letter to Boeing asking to cancel the delivery of 49 of the airplanes. The 737 MAX is Boeing's fastest-selling jet, and some 5,000 of the planes have been ordered. Regulators around the world have grounded the plane since the second of 2 deadly crashes. Boeing is still investigating what caused the planes to go down and how to resolve the issue. The Garuda spokesman says Boeing representatives will travel to Jakarta on March 28th to negotiate. He says the airline is open to substituting the MAX with other types of Boeing aircraft. A spokesman for Boeing says the company does not comment on discussions with its customers. Daniela Cheslow, NPR News.
In Missouri, authorities are evacuating low-lying areas near St. Joseph as the Missouri River crests at near-record levels. Dozens are putting sandbags around the levee that protects the airport and the Missouri Air National Guard. Damage from the flooding that started last week is estimated to exceed $1 billion in each of several Midwestern states. Wall Street lower just before the closing of the bell. The Dow down 459 points at 25,502. That's a drop of 1.8%. The Nasdaq down 2.5% at 7642. This is NPR. General Motors says it will put $300 million into its Orion Township plant in Michigan, focusing on new electric vehicles. The plant is expected to create 400 jobs. It's part of the automaker's bigger commitment to put $1.8 billion into GM manufacturing in the U.S. in 6 states. 2 American astronauts have wrapped up more than a 6-hour spacewalk. Brendan Byrne from member station WMFE reports it's part of an ongoing effort to replace aging batteries on the International Space Station.
How's it going, Nick?
It's going good. NASA's Ann McClain and Nick Hague swapped out 3 old nickel hydrogen batteries with more powerful lithium-ion replacements. The station's robotic arm did much of the heavy lifting, but the duo still had to lug 300-pound adapters the size of a large coffee table and reconnect attachments. It's part of a long-term effort to replace the station's 20-year-old batteries. So far, astronauts have replaced about half of the 48 on the station. While the ISS uses solar panels to generate power, batteries are used when it's in the dark and not getting power from the sun. Work continues next week with the first all-female crew. For NPR News, I'm Brendan Byrne in Orlando.
Home sales set a record last month. The National Association of Realtors says existing home sales soared 11.8% in February to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 5.51 million homes. This as mortgage rates fall.
Here's the on our network and affiliate platform websites. Not only our show, but many other good shows about different, much to enjoy and much to appreciate.
And much to learn.
Yes. Stream live on TuneIn, iTunes, or the Paranormal Livestream app, available from Android app and iTunes Store. This segment is brought to you by the Supernatural magazine, where our articles can be read. And we should have a new one coming out here in a day or two, I believe.
Yeah.
It will be up. And it's a really good one, too. So check that out. We're talking to, this is Paraversal Universe, and we're talking to paranormal author and researcher Mike Ricksecker. Are you still with us, Mike?
Yes, I am.
All righty. So when we left, we were talking about cemeteries and whatnot. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. And you had mentioned before that you're a publisher. Would we know any of the authors that you represent?
Well, yeah, there's quite a few. There's Vanessa Hogel. You guys gave her a shout out earlier.
Yes.
So let's see. There's Vanessa, there's Kat Gash, Katie Hopkins, Adam Tillery, who also does a lot of our artwork. Lee Ehrlich, Chuck Banks, just signed with us, has a couple books coming out. Michelle Hamilton, we've got Marla Brooks, William Stillman. So, yeah, quite a few different people that are out there. I hope I didn't forget anybody.
Nice. And Paracons, that's something else I wanted to talk to you about. And this would be one of them things that I have seen and have wondered about. So you host Paracons as well, correct?
Yeah, we just the Haunted Road Media Paracon. We just hosted our first one last year. It was really, it started off as, okay, this is going to be a Haunted Road Media author event, but it kind of grew into something a little bit more as we kept going along. And it was a great success. We had a lot of great speakers out there. We have live music. We do a paranormal investigation afterward. So it was, we just had a really great time with everybody. So we are hosting our second one this year at the Mineral Springs Hotel in Alton, Illinois, where last year's was. And yeah, so I encourage everybody to come on out. You can find all the information on hauntedroadmedia.com. Another great lineup of speakers, and we're going to have the live music going again, and it's a really good time. You guys should come down. We had people from Wisconsin show up last year.
Yeah, is that that's more by St. Louis, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Okay, right.
So I know it's a little bit of a hike, but
yeah, that's especially for something like a Paracon.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, always enjoy Paracons. We got a few, or we're going to be in a few this year too, coming up. We're excited. They're always so much fun because you get to see colleagues that you don't get to see too often. I mean,
you get to meet new people.
People come up to you and they appreciate your work and stuff, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, some of my best friends and relationships I've had for years, came out of the Paracon. I mentioned Adam Tillery and Lee Ehrlich a little bit ago as authors with us, and then Adam also being a fantastic artist and illustrator. I met them a good, 7-8 years ago or whatever. I think it was 8 years ago, at a small Paracon at Belvoir Winery. It was like when Belvoir had just opened up, and it was like really the first big, Paracon that was there. And it wasn't, and I say big Paracon, but there was just like a handful of people there. And I was like, well, even though I only sold maybe about 4 books or whatever, that was irrelevant because I made these lifelong friendships there that, now they're both published through Haunted Road Media. They're doing all sorts of things with the event.